performance in coming years. With Tony, one of the big variables we saw was that he played very few minutes in his 20s, so he actually had much less wear and tear on his body than a typical player of his age. With Zach, I think it's more, we look at him as having the prototypical sort of old man game, I guess you'd call it, where he's not really dependent on leaping and athleticism. It's more subtle things, using his body, using his touch, and so our hope is that will age well because of that. Obviously, bringing in Vince, that's a little different ball game. There's actually very few players who've even been able to play to his age as a rotation player, so there weren't even that many comparables to use. What we did see was that the players who did get into their late 30s as rotation players, generally they still had at least one and usually 2 good years left in them if they wanted to continue playing. There were a lot of guys like Havlicek and Reggie Miller who were still good enough to play, who were just like, okay, I'm done here. I don't see that in Vince, though. I think he still loves to play, still loves to be out there. And so I think we can get, still get a couple good years out of him.
The Spurs have obviously gotten great mileage out of some old
Yeah,
guys.
And I think one of the things that we look at with them, obviously, is that they've been able to manage their guys, too, and make sure the wear and tear isn't too great at any one time. With that said, they've also been fortunate in the players that they've had, that those players haven't had major injuries and have been the type of players who are internally driven enough to keep themselves in shape and keep competing and do all those things too.
Chris said he thought this was the deepest Grizzlies team on paper from an analytical standpoint. Do you think that's so?
I think so. I was just telling Lee, he compared it 2 years ago especially. I think the bench is the biggest area where we've improved this team. You look at, getting a real legit backup 5 in Costa. You look at the backup point guard position where we've added Nick and Bano. I think we have basically 6 wing players who are rotation caliber players now. And so I think we're in a really great spot. Yeah.
How much does a healthy Pondexter help the outside shooting along with Carter?
Oh, it's a ton, yeah. I mean, we were last in the NBA in three-pointers last year. Losing Quincy early in the year definitely contributed to that. Vince, in terms of three-point frequency, takes a lot more than anyone we had on our team last year. And so I think he'll help just with that. I mean, obviously, so our issue last year, we were last in three-pointers. We were okay in percentage, but we were last by far in just the sheer quantity. I think we just have more players now who are capable of taking and making that shot and putting more pressure on the defense to get out to them. I think playing John Lora as a stretch 4 certainly is a factor with that. I think having Quincy available at the 3 for a full year obviously will impact that. Hopefully he's available for a full year. Having Bano for a full season and then adding Vince obviously is huge too.
You guys have 14 guaranteed spots. You have 1 left.
Yes.
Are you looking in camp to add a 15th, or are you wanting to keep that flexibility there?
We'll see how it goes. I mean, we have several players who could potentially get that spot if they show us something these next few weeks, or we can opt to keep it open. There's obviously you like having the flexibility of that open spot, but if someone comes out there in camp and really earns it, and we just can't, we just decide we can't lose that guy, then that's going to change our calculus.
How important is it to have, the point guard situation? I know there's been a lot of talk, obviously, with Kalathis in the beginning.
Yeah.
Is that anything that you guys are looking to maybe go into the start of the season, the preseason, with a third point guard there?
That's something I'd say that we're still evaluating, and we'll continue to evaluate all through camp. We'll certainly be. We want to monitor. I think not just situations with other teams, but also on our own team. How is Mike doing? How is Bano doing? Can we get through those first 13 games with just those 2? Are there other players we have on our own team who can steal a few minutes at the point if there's a situation within a game where we're down to 1 point guard somehow, whether it's fouls or an injury or whatever? Can you steal a few minutes with Courtney or with Vince or even with Tay? We just have to see.